It's 6:45 on a Tuesday night. You're standing in your kitchen. The pasta is on the stove. The butter is melting. The same butter, the same pasta, the same plate, the same shape of plate actually, because last time you tried a different plate, your kid melted down for 45 minutes. You look at the bag of carrots you bought at the store on Sunday, full of hope. They're still there, still uneaten. They will probably still be there next Sunday. And somewhere in the back of your head, a voice that sounds suspiciously like your mother-in-law says, "In my day, kids ate what was on the plate." And you feel that little stab of guilt, like maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're spoiling him. Maybe if you were just a little firmer, stop. If you're serving the same 5 foods on rotation, pasta with butter, chicken nuggets, plain crackers, cheese, and maybe a banana on a good day, you are not failing. You are not spoiling. You are not weak. A 2010 study by Cermak and colleagues found that up to 89% of autistic children experience what researchers call food selectivity. That's almost 9 out of every 10. That's not stubbornness. That's not bad parenting. That's neurology. For the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to walk you through 7 categories of food that autistic kids actually eat, with the science behind why they work. And then I'm going to give you the structure for introducing new foods without the dinner table war. No tricks, no hiding spinach in brownies, just real, evidence-based tools. Stay with me. This is going to help. Before I give you the 7 categories, I have to say something, because if you don't get this part, the rest won't land right. Your kid isn't refusing the food. Their nervous system is refusing the texture. Those are 2 completely different problems, and they have completely different solutions. Let me say it again because it's that important. Your kid is not being difficult. Their brain, which processes sensory information differently than yours, is hitting a wall when a food shows up in their mouth that doesn't match what they were expecting. The texture is wrong, the temperature is wrong, the smell is wrong, sometimes even the color is wrong. Their nervous system says no, in the same way your nervous system would say no if I handed you a plate of warm, wet sand and told you to eat it. That's what some textures feel like in an autistic mouth. Honestly, think about that for a second. We're asking these kids to override a real neurological signal, and then we get frustrated when they can't. There are 4 big sensory dimensions in play, every single meal. Texture, which is the biggest one, temperature, color and appearance, and smell. Plus a 5th, which is visual predictability. Same brand, same packaging, same shape on the plate. Change one of those without warning, and the whole meal can collapse. And here's the part that nobody told you. Research from Bayumi and colleagues, published in 2025, followed autistic adults and found that food selectivity often persists into adulthood. So this isn't a phase. It's not something they grow out of by being forced through it. It's a wiring difference, which means the way we approach it has to be different too. Not coercion, not bribery, strategy. Let's get into the 7 categories. Category 1, crunch and structure. Open up the cabinet of basically every autism family in America and you'll find the same shelf: crackers, cereal, pretzels, rice cakes, toast. There's a reason for that, and it's not laziness on the parents' part. It's that crunchy, structured foods give the autistic nervous system something it craves: predictability of texture. Every bite of a cracker is the same. Same crunch, same break, same mouth experience. There are no surprises hiding in the middle. No unexpected wetness, no soft pocket, no weird seed. The kid takes a bite, the brain knows exactly what it's getting, and the food gets to be eaten in peace. Use this category as a sensory bridge. If your kid loves a specific cracker, you can play with what goes on the cracker. A tiny smear of cream cheese, a thin slice of cucumber on top, a different cheese, same crunch, slightly new flavor. That's how you expand the menu without breaking the texture contract. Category 2, beige and smooth. I know, you've been told 1,000 times that beige food is the enemy. Forget that. Beige food is not your enemy. Pasta, white rice, mashed potatoes, plain bread, polenta. These foods are uniform, predictable, low surprise, and they're the foundation a lot of autistic kids actually feel safe eating. The job isn't to eliminate beige. The job is to build nutrition into beige without changing the texture profile. A scrambled egg blended into mashed potatoes, a spoon of nut butter melted into a plate of pasta, olive oil, cheese, a small amount of pureed cauliflower into the polenta, which by the way also looks like polenta. You are not failing because your kid eats beige. You are working with the system they have. Big difference. Category 3, cold and predictable. Here's a fact most parents don't know. Cold food smells less than hot food, and smell is one of the biggest sensory triggers for autistic kids at the table. When a hot plate of chicken hits the table, the smell wave that rolls off it can shut a kid down before they've even picked up the fork. Cold foods bypass that whole problem. Sliced apple, carrot sticks, cold cottage cheese, yogurt straight from the fridge, smoothies, which by the way are one of the absolute best entry points for introducing fruit and even some vegetables, because the texture is uniform, the temperature is consistent, and a smoothie that's blue today will be blue tomorrow. Visual predictability locked in. Quick question for the comments because I genuinely want to know. What's a cold food that quietly saved your family this past year? Frozen blueberries, a specific yogurt, a smoothie recipe that finally worked. Drop it below. Other parents are reading these threads at midnight when they're out of ideas, and your weird little trick could be the thing that unlocks somebody else's dinner table tomorrow. Real quick, before I move on. If everything I'm telling you so far is making something click in your brain, if you're realizing your kid isn't being difficult, they're working with a different operating system, I want to point you to something we built for exactly this moment. It's called the Autism Lab Library. 8 evidence-based guides, over 160 pages, covering feeding, sensory regulation, sleep, communication, meltdowns, burnout, late diagnosis, and the family script library, so you stop dreading every Thanksgiving. Identity first, peer-reviewed, instant PDF download, 30-day guarantee, so if it doesn't help, you get your money back. No questions. Link is right in the description. Now, back to the food. Category 4. Nuggets and shapes. Look, I see you. The nugget has been on the plate 47 times this month. You're not proud of it. Your mother-in-law has opinions. Let me give you permission and a strategy at the same time. The nugget is not the enemy. The nugget is a vehicle. What an autistic kid loves about the nugget is the shape, the breading, and the absolute reliability of the experience. Bite of nugget at home, bite of nugget at grandma's, bite of nugget on the plane. Identical. The nervous system can rest. Here's the move. Don't fight the nugget. Use the nugget. Start swapping the protein inside the same breading, the same shape. Chicken nugget today. Chicken and turkey blend nugget next week. A fish finger version a few weeks after that. Homemade meatball in the same general size and shape. You're keeping the visual contract intact and slowly expanding the protein library underneath it. That's meal plan thinking, which we'll get to in a minute. Category 5. Dairy. Most autistic kids tolerate dairy well. Cheese, especially in thin slices, not cubes, because cubes have edges and edges feel different than flat surfaces. Milk, plain yogurt, butter. These foods are predictable, mostly mild, calorically generous, and they show up on safe food lists across thousands of families. One real talk caveat though, some autistic kids have real dairy intolerance or allergy. Not the trendy, we cut dairy and our kid was cured thing, which, by the way, the research does not support. Actual allergy or lactose issues, which a pediatrician can check for. If dairy doesn't sit right with your kid, that's real, and there are other paths. Nut butters, where allergies allow. Eggs prepared a few different ways. Tofu, surprisingly, is a frequent win. Soft, predictable texture, no strong flavor. We'll come back to that. Category 6. Safe fruits. Fruit is where a lot of families want to win, and the good news is, it's one of the easier categories to crack. Sweet flavor is generally rewarding for autistic kids, the textures can be controlled, and visual predictability is high. Top performers across most autism families. Banana, apple, usually peeled for a lot of kids because the skin texture is its own little battle. Grapes, ideally seedless and halved for younger kids. Strawberries, and here's a trick I love. Some kids will only eat strawberries with the green top cut off because the top is a different texture than the rest. That's not pickiness. That's their brain saying these two things are not the same thing. Honor it. Watermelon. Frozen blueberries, which double as a sensory experience. Cantaloupe for some, but the smell can be tough. Pineapple is a wild card. Now the harder fruits. Kiwi, mango, peach. These all have what I call surprise texture. The outside doesn't match the inside. A fuzzy peach skin and a slimy peach inside are two completely different experiences in one bite, and that's a no for a lot of kids. If you want to try these, start by separating the components. Peeled mango, served cold in small predictable cubes. Patience, Category 7. Safe proteins beyond the nugget. Eggs prepared 3 or 4 different ways and offered without pressure. Scrambled, hard-boiled with the yolk separate, in a quesadilla, mixed into rice. Canned tuna, which is a sleeper hit. Shredded chicken with mild seasoning. Homemade meatballs, where you control what goes in. Good quality sausage, cottage cheese, and the dark horse, tofu. Plain firm tofu, lightly pan-fried, has won over more autistic kids than people expect. Okay, categories done. Now the part that actually changes everything. How do you introduce a new food without the war? The framework I want to give you is built on research from Sharp and colleagues published in 2019 on something called the Autism MEAL Plan, a randomized controlled trial that showed real, measurable results. And the SOS approach to feeding, developed by Toomey and Sunseth Ross. Both of these are legit. Both are widely used by occupational therapists and feeding specialists. Both reject the just one bite rule. Here's the spine of how they work. 1. Food exploration without pressure to eat. If your kid touches the new food, that's progress. If they smell it, that's progress. If they kiss it, yes, a lot of kids will literally kiss food before they trust it. That is enormous progress. Eating is the last step of a very long ladder. Most parents try to start at the top. 2. Same plate, new neighbor. The new food goes on the same plate as a safe food, but in its own little compartment. Not touching, just nearby. Familiar plate, familiar safe food. One new thing in the corner. That's it. 3. One change at a time. Don't introduce a new food with a new texture and a new color and a new temperature. Pick one variable. Maybe the food is the same color as something they already like. Maybe the texture is the same crunch. Just one new dimension. 4. Repeated exposure. This is the one parents miss most. The average autistic kid needs 10 to 15 exposures before a new food is accepted. Most parents give up at 3. If you've offered green beans 3 times and your kid said no, that's not failure. That's exposure 2 of 15. Keep going. 5. No just one bite. Ever. The just one bite rule is, I would argue, the single most damaging thing in mainstream feeding advice for autistic kids. It teaches your kid that the table is a place of negotiation under pressure. It destroys trust, and the research is clear. It makes selectivity worse over time, not better. 6. Celebrate the smallest progress. Your kid licked the carrot? That's a win. Touched it with one finger? Win. Let it sit on the plate without sweeping it onto the floor? Win. You're not raising a kid who eats broccoli by Friday. You're raising a kid who feels safe at the table. The eating follows the safety, not the other way around. Now I have to talk about something serious, because skipping it would be irresponsible. For about 12% of autistic kids, food selectivity crosses the line into a clinical condition called ARFID, which stands for Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. That number comes from a 2024 meta-analysis by Sauter and colleagues. ARFID is not just picky eating with a fancy name. It's clinical. It needs a team. The signs: real weight loss or your kid falling off their growth curve, documented nutritional deficiencies on blood work, real anxiety around food that interferes with daily life, a diet so narrow it's under 10 total foods, inability to eat in social settings to the point where school or family events become impossible. If that sounds like your kid, you don't need more tips from a YouTube video. You need a team, a pediatrician, a feeding therapist, ideally an occupational therapist or speech-language pathologist with feeding training, and a registered dietitian, all of whom understand autism. Asking for that team is good parenting. It is not failure. It's the opposite of failure. Okay, lighter ground now. Let's talk about the situation that ruins more autism family meals than the food itself. The relatives, the Thanksgiving table, the cookout, the Sunday dinner at grandma's. Your kid sits down, asks for plain pasta, and somewhere across the table you feel the eyes. Then comes the line, "In my day, we ate what was put in front of us." Or the classic, "You're spoiling him." Real talk. You're not going to teach your mother-in-law neurology between the green bean casserole and the pie. So don't try. Use scripts instead. Memorize a couple. Pull them out calmly. Move on. Script 1. When somebody calls your kid picky or stubborn, he's not refusing the food. His nervous system processes texture differently than ours. Forcing him doesn't teach him, it just makes the next meal worse for everybody. Script 2. When somebody says you're spoiling him, we're working with a real evidence-based feeding plan. Same way you'd accommodate diabetes, we accommodate sensory differences. It's not spoiling, it's medicine, basically. Script 3. When somebody offers unsolicited advice, thank you for caring. The most helpful thing right now is letting him sit at the table with us and not commenting on his plate. We've got the food part handled. You don't owe anyone a TED Talk on autistic neurology at a family dinner. You owe your kid a calm meal. Quick prompt for the comments, and I'd love a thread on this. What's a line you've actually used at a family gathering that worked, or a moment when a relative finally got it? Let's collect some wins down there. Other parents are going to need those exact words this summer. All right, let's bring it home. 7 categories. Quick recap. Crunch and structure, your sensory bridge. Beige and smooth, your foundation, not your enemy. Cold and predictable, where smoothies live and miracles happen. Nuggets and shapes, the vehicle for expanding protein quietly. Dairy, mostly your friend. Safe fruits, where wins come fastest. And safe proteins beyond the nugget, where tofu surprises you. Then the framework. No pressure exploration. Same plate, new neighbor. One change at a time. 10 to 15 exposures, not 3. No just one bite. Celebrate the smallest progress. And if it crosses into ARFID territory, get the team. That's not giving up. That's leveling up. You don't need to do all of this. Pick one category. Try the same plate, new neighbor trick this week. See what happens. The whole point is slow drift in the right direction, not transformation by Friday. If you want the full step-by-step protocol, the 30-day food expansion plan, the sensory mapping templates, the family script library, the printable visuals, that's all inside the Autism Lab library. 8 guides, over 160 pages, identity first, peer-reviewed, instant PDF, 30-day guarantee. Link is in the description. And if this helped, hit subscribe. We do this every week. Evidence over noise, no food shame, no fixing your kid, just real tools that respect both of you. Everything you heard today is educational, not medical advice. Talk to your kid's pediatrician and feeding team about what fits your family. One last thing, your kid does not need to eat broccoli this week to be healthy. They need to feel safe at the table. Start there. The rest follows. I promise you the rest follows. This has been the Autism Lab. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. See you next week.